Hi there, welcome to my views and it's breaking news for you from the Horn of Africa, where it was the 1st of January when Ethiopia signed an MOU with Somaliland. That MOU created regional shockwaves, and it seemed as if there could be a war in the Horn of Africa. Somalia threatened to wage war. It seems that Ethiopia has changed its mind. Is Ethiopia withdrawing from the MOU altogether? Or is it withdrawing from one part of the MOU, which is the most important part? By the way, I mentioned that when this MOU was signed, that the most important and the most controversial part of the MOU is the one from which Ethiopia is going to withdraw reportedly. Bloomberg has published a report today citing some sources. Bloomberg talked to some foreign diplomats, and based on its sources, Bloomberg is claiming that Ethiopia is considering withdrawal from one clause of this MOU. Which clause? We'll have a detailed look at this development. Now, let me take you a little back to the 1st of January. When the MOU was signed, I said that the most controversial clause of this MOU is recognition of Somaliland by Ethiopia. Ethiopia never admitted that it will recognize Somaliland as a country. But Somaliland's president, Musi Abdi, in his talks clearly said that recognition was part of the package. And we know that MOU has not been made public. We don't know what is written in this MOU. That is why rumors were there. But since Musi Abdi clearly, publicly said that in return for Ethiopia gaining access to sea, Ethiopia would recognize one as a country. It means that recognition of Somaliland was part of the MOU. And when Somalia opposed the MOU, main reason behind this opposition from Somalia was this recognition issue. Why? Because Somaliland has long been struggling for recognition. For around 3 decades, Somaliland has been lobbying, trying to get any country to recognize Somaliland as a country, but no success. For the first time, Somaliland was seeing a real opportunity. And had Ethiopia recognized Somaliland as a country, other countries would have followed as well. And I did a video yesterday, if you remember. I said Somaliland is getting frustrated with Ethiopia. I quoted a statement of Somaliland's interior minister, who said Somaliland was doing more than was required from Somaliland about the implementation of the MOU. But Ethiopia should also show the same level of commitment. So that statement from Somaliland Interior Minister was very clear, though he implied things, that Ethiopia was dragging its feet. Now, what is Bloomberg claiming? From which clause of the MOU Ethiopia intends to withdraw? And if Ethiopia withdraws from this clause, will Somaliland remain committed to the MOU, to other parts of the MOU? Well, Bloomberg claims that Ethiopia is considering withdrawing from the clause which mentions recognition of Somaliland as a country. And according to the Bloomberg, Ethiopian Prime Minister PM Abiy, when he visited Kenya a week ago, there he showed flexibility. He talked to William Ruto, Kenyan president, and they issued a joint statement. The statement stated that the two countries respected the territorial integrity and sovereignty of all the countries in the region. And that statement was issued before Hassan Sheikh, Somalia's president's arrival in Nairobi. No meeting could be held between Abiy and Hassan Sheikh in Nairobi. But Abiy requested Ruto to mediate between Ethiopia and Somalia, reportedly. And there, in Nairobi, reportedly, Ethiopian PM showed flexibility that Ethiopia could withdraw from this clause of the MOU, which states that Ethiopia would recognize Somaliland as a country. This is what Bloomberg is claiming. Now, question is, viewers, that definitely, if Ethiopia is withdrawing from this part of the MOU, it's because of international pressure, regional pressure, Somalia's pressure. Somalia reacted very strongly to the MOU. It said all options were on the table. Somalia would stop Ethiopia no matter what happens. Whether Somalia has to resort to waging war, whether it has to back groups in Ethiopia, whether it has to use ethnic card, no matter what happens, Somalia said it won't let Ethiopia implement the MOU. So it was definitely a difficult decision for Ethiopian government to press ahead with the MOU. Now, point is that if Ethiopia decides to withdraw from the MOU's part, which is about recognition of Somaliland, how will Somaliland react? Will Somaliland remain committed to the remaining portion of the MOU? Now, how will Somalia react? Will Somalia accept the remaining part of the MOU? Because the remaining part is also a little controversial. More controversial part is recognition. Less controversial part is building of Ethiopian naval base in Somaliland. Second, the controversial part of this MOU, will Ethiopia, if Ethiopia does not recognize Somaliland as a country, but it says it wants to build a naval base in Somaliland, it wants to use Berbera port, will Somaliland remain committed to the MOU or not? It's a very important question, perhaps difficult to answer that, firstly. Secondly, what about Somalia? Will Somalia allow establishment of an Ethiopian naval base in Somaliland, in Lohaya, if Ethiopia withdraws from the recognition part of the MOU? By the way, so far, Ethiopia is in talks with Kenya. Foreign diplomats are confirming that Ethiopia is considering withdrawing. It's not that Ethiopia has finally, officially withdrawn from a part of the MOU, which is about recognition. No. Officially, Ethiopia has not announced its withdrawal from one clause of the MOU. Somaliland is frustrated. Some top Ethiopian delegations are visiting Somaliland. 2 days ago, someone from Somaliland contacted me. He said, Sajid, a top Ethiopian delegation is in Hargeisa, led by Ethiopian intelligence agency chief. Why, if Ethiopia does not want to recognize it as a country, then why is there need for top Ethiopian delegation to visit Somaliland? Well, now Ethiopia wants access to Berbera port. It wants to build a naval base in Somaliland, while recognition is being rejected by Ethiopia. It is going to be a difficult task for Ethiopia to convince Somaliland to implement parts of the MOU. Because through this MOU, Somaliland was seeing a real chance of recognition as a country. And we'll have to see how Somalia responds. Somalia has been saying Ethiopia should withdraw the MOU. It should cancel the MOU. It should rescind the MOU. Though main part on which Somalia was stressing was that the MOU was a violation of Somalia's sovereignty, territorial integrity. And Somalia was saying that because Ethiopia was recognized as a country. So that is why We'll have to wait and see what will Somalia do if Ethiopia withdraws from one part of the MOU. Will it continue its stiff resistance to the MOU, or will it normalize ties with Ethiopia? I think Somaliland's response is crucial. Somaliland is definitely going to respond this Bloomberg story in coming hours. I'll update in coming videos, but I told you yesterday, my reading of Somaliland's Interior Minister statement was correct. I told you that Somaliland was frustrated with Ethiopian commitment to the MOU, and that is what now has been proven. But let's see, we'll have to wait. It's a big development. How will that move be seen in Ethiopia? PM Abiy wanted access to sea through Eritrea. When he raised this issue more than 2 months ago, the target of his first talk was Eritrea, Assam. Eritrea refused to show any flexibility. Abiy then looked towards Somaliland. He signed MOU with Somaliland. Somalia threatened Ethiopia, and now Somalia forced Ethiopia to consider withdrawal from one part of the MOU. Now, which next destination Abiy is going to turn to gain access to sea? Kenya, or will he return to his narrative about Ethiopia, or will he continue what Ethiopia has been doing, using Djibouti's port? Let's see. Coming days are crucial. Thank you for watching.